My name's KenPatterson. I've been a private pilot since 1969. I got my license when I was a senior in high school, and I've been flying since, which is about 24 years. I flew for almost 10 years as a private pilot, realizing that flying a fixed wing was not the sheer fun that I was wanting to get into when I was flying. And at that time, the ultralight movement had just started. So in 1978, I bought my first ultralight, which was an easy riser, which was one of the pioneer ultralights back then. And I flew it for several years, realizing that ultralight flying was exactly what I'd been looking for all my life. The sheer enjoyment of flying low and slow is what makes ultralight flying so exciting. I fly this ultralight in winds of 20 miles an hour or less, and I can taxi it crosswind in 20 mile an hour winds too. Anything greater than that, you have to be very careful, because the wind will have a tendency to get up under the wing and tip it up on the other wing, and therefore, you know, you have to be careful on the winds. But I think an ultralight in 20 mile an hour winds is pretty good. I put this kit put it together in a garage, a two-car garage. It comes in 4 boxes, and a two-car garage is just big enough to put the wings together on this kit. So it took me about 2 weeks to build this kit. That's probably averaging 6 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's extremely easy to build. You don't have to bend any tubes, you don't have to drill any holes. All the fabric is pre-sewn, so it's just really more of a snap-together type kit. It's probably on the market one of the easiest kits there is to build, and the shortest time to build it. So for a beginner, if they're interested in something simple and easy to build, a Quicksilver is probably about going to be the easiest one you'll find. There were 2 options that I purchased for this ultralight that did not come with the kit. The first option was a steerable nose gear. These ultralights are really a lot more easier to taxi on the ground when you have a steerable nose gear. It allows you to make your turns and do things that you normally just can't do when you don't have this option. You usually have to pick the nose up and pivot it around with your feet, but with the steerable nose gear you have the option to turn and do whatever you want as a typical airplane. So this is an important option that I really recommend for any ultralight. My second option that I purchased on this kit was hydraulic brakes. These brakes, you don't have to have brakes on an ultralight, but I recommend it simply for 2 reasons. Well, I fly off of an airport that has a hard surface runway, and when you land this ultralight on a hard surface runway with the engine at idle, it just continues to go down the runway. You just can't stop it unless you get it over in grass. So I realized then I was going to have some braking power. My second reason I bought the brakes was because there are times I do fly in and out of short strips, people's front yards that have an acre or 2 around their house, and I find it necessary sometimes the minute I land to use brakes in order to prevent from hitting some obstacle that might be in front of me. So brakes to me are real important for the reasons that I love flying these. I chose a Sprint over a Sport for 2 reasons. One reason is my whole basic philosophy for flying ultralights is slowness. I like to go slow. A Sport is going to cruise about 10 miles an hour faster than this ultralight. It's about 55 on a cruise, whereas this is about 45. And that is the first and most important reason. The second reason is a Sport has a double surface wing. As you notice here, this is a single surface wing. Therefore, it's a lot more forgiving in stalls, and it's a much more docile ultralight than a Sport. So flying low and turns, especially tight turns, low to the ground, or anything like that, or even stalls at 100 or 200 feet, I would much rather be in this than a Sport. preventative maintenance like changing the fuel filters, spark plugs, drive belts, air filter, and a few odds and ends that are just simply preventative maintenance has kept this thing running perfectly. It's a good enough cross-country ultralight that you can go short distances and really enjoy the scenery in the area that you live at, but it's not something I would take for over 100 or 200 miles. You can do it, it's just all my flights have been short and local.